the Puma Deviate Nitro 2s. We're at 150 plus miles. It's time for our mileage update. Let's get into it. So before we get into the video, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're already subscribed, watching content. Thanks so much. Love you guys a lot. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and Strava for all sorts of other updates and things like that. So without further ado, let's begin. Specs somewhere over here where you can see them on the shoe. And we will kick off with the outsoles of the shoe, as we usually try to do, because that's where all the big things happen for me, where I start deciding whether the shoe can continue and whatnot. So this is what we're looking like at the bottoms of our shoes. And like for the most part, as you can probably tell from the outsoles, we have our generic wear patterns for me in the same typical spots on both ends of the shoes. In a similar way, they kind of follow the Vomero 16 wear pattern, because they have the similar kind of like tread, I guess, pattern. Not the exact same style, but kind of, you know, the whole tread setup. So up here, our main wear is on the top end of the shoe, which kind of tracks to what I've been doing. We also have some wear here on the side, and we got some like debris of like a sticky, probably fruit that I've probably ran on or something. It's the guts of an animal. That's what it is. No, I'm just kidding. Doesn't appear that that would be the case. I wonder. No, that's like something sticky. I was thinking it was like something stabbed through the rubber. Doesn't seem like there's any sort of impact there. But as you can probably tell in this area of the shoe, there is a lot of debris that still does get stuck in this like crevice between the two rubber plates in this like foam area. Quite annoying. I have stopped a couple of times with rocks getting stuck in this area, and you can tell that it's caused some sort of abrasion in that crevice area. So that's something to note. Like if that crevice could be a little bit smaller, I'm sure it would be okay in terms of like getting water flow from the shoe, because like these treads are enough, I think, to get water out of it, so you don't like hydroplane or like slip while you're running. You're hydroplaning while running, guys. Like I'm sure it's possible, but you know, in this particular case, like we don't need this much of a seepage to kind of occur where like now you get debris and rocks and things like that stuck in the shoe. So I digress. Like we can definitely change that. In the heel, not too much wear. I do sometimes walk around the shoe at the gym, and it looks like the overall wear is pretty fairly consistent on this shoe. On this particular one, now we've got a little bit more wear, because again, the supination occurs a little bit more in this area. We've really polished the outside of this shoe in a lot of spots, which, you know, it kind of is a bummer that it's kind of melting out this way, but it was also predictable. Why? Because these lugs on the shoe just have this, like, they stick out from the shoe enough where you can grind them down really quickly without any particular, I guess, let me think of the right way to phrase this. When you have the lugs, you know they're going to burn first because they stick out of the shoe a lot more than something if it was like a flat surface, like an Adizero Adios Pro 3, where it's like this flat piece, right? Obviously, the advantages here is like the water can seep through, you can get some debris, you can run on trails with this shoe if you really wanted to. But the disadvantage in the long term is if you polish this out, all of those advantages start disappearing, and if you need the shoe to perform quicker, you'll know it won't be able to under various conditions, because you've now eliminated some of those advantages. So like if you wanted to run fast in the water, guess what? This flat patch right here is not going to help you grab into the ground, and the grip of the shoe is just going to start falling apart for you in those longer runs, or those faster runs, depending on what you're trying to do here. Maybe on a track you might be okay if it's like turf, but I think on concrete this is where issues start kind of occurring. It is interesting, though, that the rest of it is in pretty good shape other than this top area here, which brings me to like some of the thoughts on the shoe that I guess I've heard in comment sections before. I don't know if this is necessarily a con at this time. Based on the wear, I would consider it one. Is that the shoe's instability is a double-edged sword. What I mean by that is that the fit and the wear of the shoe is really great. Riding in the shoe is really cool too. Like, it's not really heavy or doesn't feel bad on your ankles, your knees, or anything like that. But the shoe does kind of control you to supinate more or pronate more, depending on which one is like your more common approach to running. So in my case, like the supination occurs a little bit more. So the shoe is less stable and will cause me to supinate in that direction more frequently. And as a result, you see how the wear pattern is kind of going. You'll see that in some of your runs, and if you were to like look at yourself in the mirror running, the shoe like always seems to kind of go outward while you run, and then when you try to like stabilize it, you'll see that you sink in more. And that's just as a result of, again, maybe the shoe's stack height being too high for having more stability for yourself. Maybe it's just the foam is so much softer and it's less forgiving in terms of your stability. That could also be an issue to consider. But like the ride itself ends up being comfortable one way or another, because the shoe's main advantage with this in particular is that no matter whether you're like a pronator or a supinator, there's enough foam and stack to keep you afloat. You won't like supinate so much that your ankle, kind of bends out this way, or you won't be able to pronate so much that the shoe like breaks or caves in and like you roll your ankle inside, which that would suck a lot. It's like there's enough stability to keep you afloat, but not enough stability to keep like your foot landing the same kind of strong way every single time. I don't know if that rant like even makes sense at all, but I think as we go along, I'll be able to explain it more and more. Other things to consider: the shoe fit, again, is fine. Just the only other thing I would probably discuss at this point in time is just making sure you tie the shoe down, because there can be some slip if like you do what I do, which is when you take off the shoe, you'll loosen up the shoelaces a little bit like this. Like, make sure you can get them back to whatever you had in the running form previously. Otherwise, it will feel loose, and this is where issues with like ankles and feet kind of begin to develop over time. So that would have been my one like note to concern of concern with this particular shoe. But again, I don't have too much to say about the Puma at this time. Like, it's doing its job. It's handling the easy to slightly faster workouts the way I want them to. And just there's like little things that I'm seeing as the shoe's going over time. But if we can get past 300 plus miles and the shoe is still in good shape, it's doing its job just fine. Like, I'm not going to get mad about the shoe doing the same job that like the Vomero 16 would have been doing for me when I was using a Nike, I guess like equal in this case. So that's the Puma Deviate Nitro 3. If you guys agree or disagree with any of the assessments, or have noticed something in your 200, 300 plus mile reviews that I should keep in mind, let me know in the comments below. But yeah, I think we'll leave it here. So far, so good at 150 plus miles. Just some wear and tear that I'm expecting. That's going to be something interesting to monitor based on the pattern itself. But yeah, a lot of cool stuff with the shoe still to come. So thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.